October 17, 2019. The Arabian desert stretched endlessly under the blazing sun when a group of tourists stumbled upon something that would shake Dubai's expat community to its core. Half buried in the sand, wrapped in an expensive Persian rug, lay the upper torso of a woman. The lower half was never found. She had left everything behind for a wealthy Emirati businessman, a forbidden love that promised paradise but delivered death. In just 2 weeks, a dream turned into a nightmare that ended in the dunes. What really happened to the Filipina hotel manager who dared to chase a dangerous desire? You are about to find out. Welcome to True Crime Journal HQ. Thanks to all our viewers and subscribers for your support. Stay with us for daily update on the most shocking true crime stories. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Before we start, if you want to learn how to protect yourself from potential danger, then download your free ebook titled Safety for Women Over 40, Everyday Habits to Outsmart Criminals, by clicking the link in the pinned comment. Carmela Domingo was born on a sweltering August afternoon in 1987 in Taguig City, Metro Manila. She was the eldest of 4 children in a household where money was always tight and dreams felt like luxuries. Her father drove a jeepney for 12 hours a day, while her mother sold homemade kakanin at the local market. From the age of 8, Carmela understood her role. She was the ate, the big sister, the one who would help lift the family out of poverty. She excelled in school despite having to study under dim streetlights because their electricity was often cut off. Teachers noticed her determination. While other girls her age gossiped about celebrities and fashion, Carmela buried herself in hospitality management textbooks, convinced that the tourism industry would be her ticket out. She dreamed of working in 5-star hotels, of wearing crisp uniforms, of earning enough to send her siblings to college. At 19, while working part-time at a small hotel in Makati, she met Rico Velasco. He was 23, a construction worker with calloused hands and big promises. He told her he'd work overseas, save money, and build them a house. Carmela saw stability in him, something her childhood had desperately lacked. They married quickly, and by 21 she gave birth to Sophia. The first few years were manageable. Rico found work in Riyadh, sending home remittances that paid for Sophia's private school tuition and kept food on the table. But the distance began to corrode what little foundation their rushed marriage had. Rico came home once a year, sometimes less. Phone calls became arguments about money, about Carmela's complaints that she was raising Sophia alone, about Rico's defensiveness that he was sacrificing everything abroad. Have you ever felt like you're living parallel lives with someone you're supposed to love? That's exactly where Carmela found herself by 2017. Sophia was 6 years old and barely recognized her father during his brief visits. Carmela had climbed to assistant manager at a boutique hotel in BGC, but her salary wasn't enough. Rico's remittances covered expenses, but there was never anything extra. No savings, no emergency fund, no way forward. They were trapped in a cycle of survival, not living. When a recruitment agency posted openings for hospitality positions in Dubai with salaries triple what she earned in Manila, Carmela didn't hesitate. She applied immediately. Dubai represented everything she'd dreamed about since childhood: gleaming hotels, international standards, and most importantly, serious money. Rico supported the decision, perhaps relieved to have the financial pressure eased, perhaps too distant to care anymore. In March 2018, Carmela boarded her flight to Dubai International Airport. She left Sophia with her mother, promising video calls every night and gifts every month. She left Rico with barely a goodbye. Their marriage had become a business arrangement, nothing more. As the plane lifted off and Manila's lights disappeared below, Carmela felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Dubai was the fresh start she needed, or so she thought. What she didn't know was that the city's golden towers cast long, dark shadows. Behind the luxury and opportunity waited something that would cost her everything, including her life. The heat hit Carmela the moment she stepped out of Dubai International Airport, a dry, intense warmth completely different from Manila's humidity. But it was the skyline that stopped her breath. The Burj Khalifa pierced the clouds. Sheikh Zayed Road sparkled with endless traffic, and everywhere she looked, glass and steel reflected impossible wealth. This was it. This was where her life would finally change. Within a week, she secured a position as guest relations supervisor at the Azure Grand Hotel in downtown Dubai. The property was everything she'd imagined: marble floors, crystal chandeliers, guests who thought nothing of spending her monthly salary on a single dinner. Her uniform was tailored perfectly, her name badge gleamed, and for the first time in her life, Carmela felt professional, valued, important. Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. Adapting to Dubai life came naturally. She learned to navigate the metro, discovered where to find affordable Filipino groceries in Karama, and quickly connected with other Filipinas working in hospitality. Sunday Mass at St. Mary's Catholic Church became her social anchor, a place where she could speak Tagalog freely, share adobo at potlucks, and laugh about the cultural adjustments they all faced. Her daily routine settled into a comfortable rhythm. Morning shift started at 6 a.m., greeting guests with practiced warmth, handling complaints with diplomatic grace, coordinating with housekeeping and concierge. Management noticed her work ethic. Within 6 months, she received a promotion and a salary increase that made her gasp when she saw the bank transfer. If you made it to this point, drop a comment with "I'm still here." Let's see who is still watching. She video called Sophia every night without fail, watching her daughter grow through a screen. She sent money home religiously, more than Rico ever had. But when Rico called, their conversations grew shorter, colder. What was there to say anymore? They were strangers, funding the same child's future, nothing more. Carmela's friends in Dubai started noticing changes in her. She worked longer hours, volunteered for weekend shifts, anything to stay busy. The truth she wouldn't admit, even to herself, was that she was lonely, deeply, achingly lonely. She had money now, success even, but she came home to an empty shared apartment with 2 other Filipinas who worked opposite shifts. She was 31 years old, and her marriage felt like a legal document, not a relationship. If you're enjoying this content, like, subscribe, and share it with your loved ones to protect them from the same tragedy happening to them in the future. By late 2018, Carmela found herself wondering, is this all there is? Work, send money, sleep, repeat? She'd achieved everything she'd planned for, but happiness remained frustratingly out of reach. That restlessness, that vulnerability, that hunger for something more, it made her the perfect target for what was coming next. Ahmed Al-Mansour walked into the Azure Grand Hotel lobby on a Thursday evening in January 2019, and everything about him screamed wealth. Designer Candura, Swiss watch worth more than Carmela's annual salary, an aura of confidence that came from never hearing the word no. He was checking in for a business associate from Abu Dhabi, and when Carmela handled the reservation, he didn't look at her the way most Emirati guests did, with polite distance. He looked at her like she mattered. "Your service is exceptional," he said in perfect English, his smile warm and genuine. "What's your name?" "Carmela, sir." "Is there anything else I can assist you with?" "Actually, yes. I'm hosting a corporate event here next month. I'd like you personally to coordinate it. Professional, courteous, appropriate." That's what Carmela told herself when she agreed. Ahmed returned 3 times that week, always with legitimate business reasons, always making a point to speak with her. He asked about her background, seemed genuinely interested when she mentioned the Philippines, complimented her attention to detail. Other staff noticed. Her manager approved. Wealthy regulars were good for business. The corporate event went flawlessly. Ahmed was so impressed that he left an envelope at the front desk for her. Inside, a tip of 2,000 dirhams and a handwritten note. "Exceptional work deserves exceptional recognition. Ahmed." 2,000 dirhams. Carmela stared at that cash for a full minute. That was nearly 2 weeks' salary as a gift. The next week, he invited her to coffee, just to discuss possibly hiring her for private event planning on the side. "Extra income," he explained. "I have several properties that need someone with your expertise." They met at a cafe in City Walk. Professional, public, safe. But the conversation shifted. He asked about her daughter. expressed sympathy about her marriage struggles, shared his own story about family pressure and expectations. He made her laugh, something she hadn't done genuinely in months. When they parted, he handed her a small shopping bag from Bloomingdale's. "For Sophia," he said. "Every daughter deserves gifts from her mother." Inside was a designer children's dress that cost more than Carmela had ever spent on herself. She knew she should return it. She knew this was crossing professional boundaries. But when she video-called Sophia and showed her the dress, her daughter's squeal of delight made every warning sign fade into background noise. Ahmed texted her that night. "Coffee again next week?" Carmela stared at her phone for 10 minutes before typing, "Yes." That single word would lead her straight into a nightmare. Coffee meetings became dinners. Dinners became drives along Jumeirah Beach Road in his white Maserati. Within 2 months, Ahmed invited Carmela to his villa in Arabian Ranches, a sprawling property with floor-to-ceiling windows, an infinity pool, and silence so complete it felt like they were the only 2 people in Dubai. "This is my private space," he told her, pouring Italian wine into crystal glasses. "No business, no pressure, just us." Just us. Those words made Carmela feel chosen, special, seen in a way Rico never made her feel. Ahmed knew exactly what to say. He talked about giving her a better life, about helping her bring Sophia to Dubai for proper schooling, about investing in a business together. "You deserve more than working for someone else's dream," he'd whisper. "Let me help you build your own." "Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below." The gifts escalated. Jewelry, designer handbags, an iPhone 11 Pro Max that had just launched. When Carmela protested, Ahmed would cup her face gently and say, "Habibi, I take care of what's mine." The possessiveness should have alarmed her. Instead, it felt like security. She justified everything. Rico barely called anymore. Her marriage was dead on paper and in practice. Ahmed made her feel alive again, desired, important, worthy. When her roommate asked pointed questions about where she disappeared to on weekends, Carmela snapped, "He treats me better than my own husband ever did." But there were moments that didn't sit right. Ahmed never let her meet his friends. He insisted she keep their relationship private. "For your safety and reputation," he claimed. His phone was always face down. Twice she heard him speaking urgently in Arabic on calls he'd take in another room. If you made it to this point, drop a comment with, "I'm still here." Let's see who is still watching. "Who was that?" she'd ask. "Business, Habibi. Nothing for you to worry about." By August 2019, Carmela had convinced herself she was in love. She filed for divorce from Rico through a lawyer in Manila, a process made easier since they'd been separated for years. Rico didn't fight it. He sounded almost relieved. When Ahmed suggested she move into his second property, a villa on the outskirts of Dubai near the desert, Carmela hesitated for less than a day. "We can finally be together properly," he promised. "No more hiding, no more sneaking around." If you're enjoying this content, like, subscribe, and share it with your loved ones to protect them from the same tragedy happening to them in the future. She gave notice at her shared apartment, told her friends she'd found better accommodation, and in September 2019 moved into Ahmed's secluded villa, isolated, dependent, exactly where he wanted her. The trap had closed, and Carmela didn't even realize she was the prey. The villa felt like paradise for exactly 3 weeks. Then the cracks started showing. Ahmed's schedule became erratic. He'd disappear for 2, sometimes 3 days without explanation. "Family obligations," he'd say dismissively when Carmela questioned him. "You wouldn't understand our culture." When she pressed further, his jaw would tighten in a way that made her stomach drop. The controlling behavior started small. He didn't like her going to Sunday Mass anymore. Too many questions from her Filipino friends. He suggested she take a break from work to focus on their future together. When Carmela refused, saying she needed her independence, Ahmed's generosity suddenly came with conditions. "I've given you everything, and this is how you repay me. By choosing a hotel job over us." The villa's isolation became suffocating. It was 40 minutes from downtown Dubai, surrounded by empty plots and construction sites, that had stalled during the economic slowdown. Her roommates stopped calling after she kept cancelling plans. Her friends from church sent concerned messages she didn't know how to answer. Then came the discovery that shattered everything. Late September, while Ahmed was gone on another unexplained trip, Carmela found his second phone hidden in a drawer. The lock screen showed a photo she'd never seen. Ahmed with 3 different women and several children at what looked like a family gathering. Her hands shook as she scrolled through messages in Arabic. She used Google Translate and the words made her blood run cold. Ahmed wasn't just dating her. He was married, 3 wives, all legitimate under Islamic law. The messages revealed more. He had a pattern. Foreign women, usually Filipinas or Indians working in hospitality, became his girlfriends until they became problems. One message thread stood out. A conversation from 2 years ago about a woman named Priya who disappeared. Another man asked, "What happened?" Ahmed's response translated, "Some problems solve themselves in the desert." Carmela's entire body went numb. Has anyone you trusted ever revealed themselves to be someone completely different? That's the moment Carmela realized she wasn't his girlfriend. She was his victim. She tried to leave that night, calling a taxi to the villa. But Ahmed returned unexpectedly, his face dark with rage when he saw her packed bag. "Where do you think you're going?" "I know about your wives. I know about the other women." The mask dropped completely. Ahmed grabbed her arm hard enough to bruise. "You know nothing, and if you're smart, you'll keep it that way. I'm leaving. You can't stop me." His laugh was cold, empty of humor. "You're in my house, in my country, on a visa I can cancel with one phone call. You think you have choices here? Habibi, you have nothing without me." Carmela wrenched her arm free, her heart hammering. "I'll go to the police." "And tell them what? That you're having an affair with a married man? That you left your job and moved into my property? Who do you think they'll believe? An Emirati businessman or an illegal girlfriend?" The word illegal hung in the air like a threat. That night, Carmela realized she wasn't just trapped. She was in danger. October 3rd, 2019 started like any other morning, but it would be the last time anyone heard from Carmela Domingo alive. At 2:47 p.m. Dubai time, Carmela's sister Isabel was preparing dinner in their Taguig City home when her phone rang with a WhatsApp call. Carmela's voice came through frantic, barely above a whisper. "Ate, listen carefully. If something happens to me, remember the villa near—" The line went dead. Isabel called back 17 times. Every call went straight to voicemail. She messaged, video called, even tried Facebook Messenger. Nothing. Silence. The kind of silence that makes your chest tight with dread. Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. By October 6th, 3 days of silence, Isabel contacted the Philippine consulate in Dubai. The consulate officer took down the information and promised to investigate. Carmela's colleagues at the Azure Grand Hotel reported she hadn't shown up for her shifts, highly unusual for someone who'd never missed a day of work. When investigators contacted Ahmed Al-Mansour, his story was smooth, rehearsed, and devastatingly simple. "Carmela and I had a brief relationship, but she decided to return to the Philippines. She told me she missed her daughter and couldn't handle Dubai anymore. I drove her to the airport myself on October 3rd. She was emotional but determined. If you made it to this point, drop a comment with 'I'm still here.' Let's see who is still watching." But airport records showed no Carmela Domingo on any flight manifest. Her passport never scanned at immigration. Her bank account showed no ATM withdrawals. Her phone remained off. She had simply vanished. The Filipino community in Dubai began circulating Carmela's photo. Group chats, Facebook pages, WhatsApp broadcasts. "Have you seen this woman?" Fear spread through the expat workers like wildfire. If someone could disappear this completely in a city covered with surveillance cameras and digital tracking, what did that mean for their own safety? Isabel flew to Dubai on October 12th, desperate and terrified. She filed an official missing person report with Dubai police. Officers assured her they were investigating, but 9 days had already passed. If you're enjoying this content, like, subscribe, and share it with your loved ones to protect them from the same tragedy happening to them in the future. 9 days. In the desert heat, evidence deteriorates fast. Time was running out. But what no one knew yet, Carmela's time had already run out 5 days ago. October 17th, 2019. Exactly 2 weeks after Carmela's last phone call, a group of European tourists had booked a sunrise desert safari near Al Qudra Lakes, one of those Instagram-worthy experiences Dubai is famous for. Their guide, a Pakistani expat named Farhan, was setting up the traditional breakfast spread when one of the tourists wandered off to photograph the dunes in the golden morning light. She screamed. Partially buried in the sand about 70 meters from where their vehicles were parked, something was wrapped in what appeared to be an expensive Persian rug. The edge had come loose, revealing what looked like human skin. Farhan immediately called Dubai police. Within 20 minutes, Criminal Investigation Department officers arrived on scene. What they uncovered made even seasoned investigators step back in horror. The upper torso of a female, carefully wrapped and buried. The lower half was missing, never recovered despite extensive searches of the surrounding area. Strangulation marks were visible on the neck. The body had been dismembered with precision, suggesting someone had knowledge of anatomy or access to proper tools. The forensic team worked meticulously. They collected sand samples, photographed every angle, catalogued the rug, a hand-woven tabriz worth approximately 15,000 dirhams. Not something a random criminal would use. This rug belonged to someone wealthy. DNA samples were rushed to the lab. The victim's fingerprints were still viable despite 2 weeks of desert exposure. Within hours, the match came back from the immigration database. Carmela Domingo, Filipino national, reported missing 14 days ago. Isabel was at the Philippine consulate when the call came. She collapsed. The sound of her wailing echoed through the building, a mother's cry for a sister who'd only wanted a better life and found death instead. News spread through Dubai's Filipino community like a shockwave. Group chats went silent. Churches held emergency prayer vigils. Women who worked in hotels as domestic helpers, as nurses, all looked at their own situations with new fear. If Carmela, who'd been smart and careful, could end up in the desert, what did that mean for them? The case made headlines across the UAE and the Philippines. Filipino woman found dismembered in Dubai desert. Dream turned nightmare, the dark side of expat romance. But for those who knew Carmela, her daughter Sophia, who was now fatherless and motherless in one devastating blow, her sister Isabel who'd heard her final terrified words, her friends who'd watched her fall under Ahmed's spell, this wasn't a headline. It was a tragedy that could have been prevented if only someone had listened to the warning signs screaming in plain sight. The hunt for Ahmed Al-Mansour began immediately. Dubai police moved with the efficiency they're internationally known for. Within 6 hours of identifying Carmela's body, a specialized task force was assembled. This wasn't just another case. This was a brutal murder that threatened the sense of safety the entire expat community depended on. The digital forensic team pulled Carmela's phone records, bank transactions, and immigration history. Ahmed's name appeared everywhere: calls, messages, money transfers. Security footage from the Azure Grand Hotel showed them together multiple times. His Maserati was captured on traffic cameras driving toward the desert area on October 3rd at 11:47 p.m. The same night Carmela made her final call. "Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below." Officers obtained a warrant for Ahmed's villa. What they found was damning. Bloodstains in the master bathroom that had been poorly cleaned, a bone saw in the garage workshop, and most critically, fibers matching the Persian rug found in the desert. Forensic analysis would later confirm Carmela's DNA throughout the property. Ahmed was arrested on October 19th, just 48 hours after the body's discovery. He was leaving his main family residence in Al-Barsha when police surrounded him. His initial arrogance crumbled quickly when confronted with the evidence, but the investigation revealed something even more disturbing. If you made it to this point, drop a comment with "I'm still here." Let's see who is still watching. Detectives found records of 3 other foreign women who'd had relationships with Ahmed over the past 5 years. Two had left the UAE suddenly, their departure unclear. One, a 29-year-old Indian woman named Priya Sharma, was reported missing in 2017. Her case had gone cold. Now it was being reopened with urgent priority. The Filipino community cooperated extensively. Carmela's friends provided statements about Ahmed's controlling behavior. Her roommates shared text messages where she'd expressed fear. Hotel colleagues reported the expensive gifts and gradual isolation. If you're enjoying this content, like, subscribe, and share it with your loved ones to protect them from the same tragedy happening to them in the future. Ahmed's defense lawyers attempted to claim passion crime, cultural misunderstanding, anything to reduce the charges. But the evidence was overwhelming: premeditated murder, dismemberment, disposal of remains. The prosecution was building an airtight case. Ahmed Al-Mansour would face justice, but for Carmela Domingo, justice would come too late. The trial of Ahmed Al-Mansour began in March 2020 at the Dubai Criminal Court. Media coverage was extensive but respectful. UAE authorities wanted transparency without sensationalism. The prosecution presented 127 pieces of evidence: forensic reports, digital records, witness testimonies, and surveillance footage that painted an undeniable picture of premeditated murder. Ahmed's defense claimed temporary insanity triggered by Carmela's alleged infidelity. The argument fell flat. In May 2020, the verdict came: guilty of first-degree murder and desecration of human remains. Sentencing: life imprisonment with no possibility of parole for 25 years. Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. For the Filipino community in Dubai, Carmela's case became a turning point. The Philippine consulate established new safety protocols, regular check-ins for workers in isolated situations, emergency hotlines operating 24/7, and mandatory orientation sessions about recognizing abusive relationships. Churches organized support groups where expats could discuss concerns without judgment. Sophia, now 7 years old, lives with Isabel in Taguig City. She attends the private school Carmela worked so hard to afford, funded by donations from the Filipino community in Dubai and a trust established in her mother's name. Psychologists say she's too young to fully grasp what happened, but she asks questions. When is Mama coming home? If you made it to this point, drop a comment with, "I'm still here." Let's see who is still watching. Rico Velasco, who'd been emotionally distant during their marriage, was devastated by Carmela's death. He now advocates for overseas worker safety, speaking at community events about recognizing manipulation tactics and controlling behavior. "I failed her when she was alive," he told a Manila news outlet. "I won't fail her memory." Isabel has made it her life's mission to ensure Carmela's story saves lives. She runs a Facebook page called Carmela's Warning, with over 85,000 followers, sharing information about safe dating practices abroad, red flags in relationships, and resources for women in dangerous situations. If you're enjoying this content, like, subscribe, and share it with your loved ones to protect them from the same tragedy happening to them in the future. The case also led to renewed investigation of Priya Sharma's 2017 disappearance. While Ahmed hasn't been formally charged, authorities continue searching the desert areas he frequented. Carmela Domingo left the Philippines seeking opportunity and found tragedy. But her story sparked changes that may protect countless others from similar fates. Her death wasn't in vain. It became a warning that echoes through every expat community in the Gulf. Carmela's story teaches us that desperation makes us vulnerable and isolation makes us targets. Watch for these red flags: excessive gifts early on, demands to cut off friends, unexplained absences, and pressure to depend entirely on one person. Have you seen these warning signs in your community? Has someone you know experienced similar control tactics? What would you do differently in Carmela's position? Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below and tell us where you're watching from. Stay safe, stay aware, and remember, no dream is worth your life. Before you go, if you want to learn how to protect yourself from potential danger, then don't forget to download your free ebook titled Safety for Women Over 40, Everyday Habits to Outsmart Criminals by clicking the link in the pinned comment.